international corporate strategy really plays a major role, just like corporate strategy plays in any corporation as you go through. You got to do a lot of planning, a lot of thinking, a lot of analyzing your market, looking at using different tools to go see who the people are that you're trying to serve and sell their product to or give them a service to on top of that, so you can actually thrive and prosper as an organization. A really good example of this is Netflix. Netflix launched themselves. People were skeptical of the process initially. Once upon a time, they had a business model where they're mailing you CDs in the mailbox as you go through. They went on streaming. There were all kinds of detractors in the process, and they persevered. And once upon a time, a company called Blockbuster Video had a chance to buy out Netflix and says, "No, we're not going to buy them out." And by the way, do you even know what Blockbuster Video is anymore? Netflix sat there, rolled past them, and now dominates a huge chunk of streaming services across the entire planet as they go through, because they use really good strategy for global dominance as you go through. They committed billions of dollars for a strategy internationally because they recognized that the US market was going to be saturated eventually with streaming video. So they said, let's go into different markets. They did an intelligent way of doing it. They entered brand new markets with attractive limited time offers. They identified the cultural differences and didn't go in with a full-blown American video package, and shove it on the company. They sat there and they chose wisely, making certain they're choosing different things that were culturally acceptable to that country as they go through. And then on top of that, they actually paid attention to the regulatory rules as they went through. They did their best not to trip over some of the basic things that companies in that country already knew about. They developed partnerships. They looked at localized content to capture the local market too. And by using the wisdom of a strategy, they sat down there and dominate really streaming services, maybe not across the entire planet, but certainly everybody's heard of Netflix if you all have any kind of streaming service as you go through. International strategy, it's a plan that guides the firm to make choices about developing, using the resources to achieve their goal. In essence, it's a SWOT analysis, but on steroids as you go through. By SWOT, we always look on the organization itself, its own strengths and weaknesses, except now, if you're, let's say, for instance, if you're an American company and you want to go into Spain, what exactly are your strengths over here? Well, let's dive over here. We look over in Spain. Now, wait a minute. If I'm Netflix, all my videos, American, the bulk of it's English, and we have a small section that's Spanish. Okay, let's beef up the Spanish ones over here. Let's get translation services as we go through. Let's go through and take our strengths, which is streaming, the technology part. Our weaknesses is we don't have enough Spanish. So let's start doing some good. So they had to employ a huge body to sit down there of works, and they had to translate it. So therefore they did a lot of different work that way. They took their weaknesses and they turned their weaknesses by working on them. When they went into that country, they sat down there and focusing on that and improving it as they went through. They used that new market as an opportunity for market share. And instead of sitting up fighting with other companies, because they almost had nobody initially in Spain to deal with, they didn't have many threats, but they made certain they started cranking up more and more movies that had Spanish language components in the process, and therefore they eliminated the threat of any potential competition, and they really dominated the Spanish market. It's a SWOT analysis, but there's so many different variables. It's on steroids, super strong, super powerful as you go through. You want to sit down and have a competitive advantage, and you want to achieve and maintain it, make you as a company unique and special to the brand new market as you're going through. So people start talking about, did you hear so-and-so is coming over here? And they get excited about it. You want to create value that customers are willing to pay. You want to have things that are rare, that nobody else has, something that's new, that's vibrant to the people that market you're entering in is right now, and they're excited about. Something that's difficult for other people to imitate or substitute for, and make certain that you're organized to fully exploit, yeah, I guess the word exploit fits, doesn't it, in the process, your strengths in that other country as you go through. Why plan globally? Well, it's a process by, you want to sit down there and look at the future. If your future is in that country, then go through, do the planning, take your SWOT analysis, and then customize it for each individual market as you go through. Sometimes it's not just one market, sometimes it's multiple markets. If you go into England, there's two different distinct markets. There's Northern England and Southern England. Actually, the accents are even different. A London accent is totally different, and everybody in North England says, "Oh, you're from London." Yes, it's just like that. So you have two different markets as you go through. Every country will have different things like that. Here in the United States, our California culture is dramatically different than anything in the Midwest. And by the way, they're both dramatically different than the East Coast. And all three of those are different from the Deep South as you go through. You might notice that I talk fast sometimes. I got to tell you, I've been to Georgia a couple times, and I get tired of them saying, "Would you slow down and say that again?" I don't know. I just talk fast, but I think I talk normal, and I think they talk slow. They think they talk normal. They think I talk fast. It just depends where you're at as you go through. So just in one country, you have different cultural differences, let alone crossing some kind of ocean and then speaking a different language, and then have different things for timeliness, different things for all the things you've already talked about, what makes different countries different as you go through. Here's a good thinking question for you. What is international strategy? Do you think it's useful to take time and effort to prepare strategies if they're rapidly changing situations? I think so. But just in case, why or why not? It's always important, international corporate strategy, do your SWOT analysis, but on a much more extensive basis, because you're entering a brand new market. And sometimes some of the things you think are your weaknesses as you enter into a different market may not be in the new market as you go through. So pay attention, be cautious as you go into it. Pay attention to the many variables that are out there. Do the external scan, do the internal scan, and make certain that your niche fits into that country and that you can exploit that by having something special, rare, that they're all excited about welcoming you into their own environment as an economy, as a country, as a nation, and they want to do business with you and your company. Take care.